Come and listen to my story about a man named Jed, a poor mountaineer who barely kept his family fed. And then one day he was shooting at some food, and up through the ground come a bubbling crude. Oil, that is. Black gold.
Texas tea.
Well, the first thing you know, Jed is a millionaire. The kinfolk said, Jed, move away from there. Said, California is the place you ought to be. So they loaded up the truck and they moved to Beverly Hills, that is. Swimming pools. Movie stars. The Beverly Hillbilly adventure truly began when Miss Jane drove them all to Hooterville, leaving everyone feeling surely obliged to her for the kind ride. It was a delightful experience spending Christmas at Petticoat Junction, and as they arrived, Jed invited Miss Jane to come on in and have something to eat. Miss Jane accepted with pleasure, but Granny immediately suggested that she had better check the pantry first because Jethro had been home and could have eaten everything in sight. Besides, Miss Jane mentioned she had better hurry next door and check in with the chief. She revealed that Mr. Drysdale was staying there because they could cure the bear, noting that Fairchild just loved Mr. Drysdale. Jed bet they had been having a lot of fun together and wondered who had been doing the cooking. Granny assumed it was likely Mr. Drysdale. Jed chuckled, remarking that if Mr. Drysdale had been doing the cooking for Jethro and Ellie's bear, he certainly had not had much time for banking. Just then, Jethro burst in, crying out how glad he was that they were all back, especially Granny, whom he loved dearly. He offered to carry her into the house, and though Granny relented because it made him happy, she quickly told him to put her down because he felt all hard, while Jed joked that the boy was actually all stomach. Jed then offered him something to eat, noting that Jethro apparently was not too happy with the chief's cooking. Jethro explained that Mr. Drysdale had not been there since Christmas. This surprised Jed, but Jethro clarified that the banker took the truck and Ellie's bear and drove to Hooterville to join them, though he never got there. Jed paused to think, remembering that when they were on that train on Christmas night singing carols, he recollected Sam Drucker looking out the window and saying he had seen a bear driving a truck. They all just thought Sam had enjoyed too much eggnog, but Jethro confessed that it was actually Bearchild. He had learned the bear how to drive so he could spell Mr. Drysdale at the wheel. Granny was shocked at the idea of a bear driving, but Jethro defended him, saying he was not bad, and though he hogged the road a lot, the other drivers never complained. Jed wondered why the bear did not stop in Hootenville, and Granny noted that the town is easy to miss in the daytime, let alone at night with no lights to speak of on that truck. Jethro added that it had no brakes to speak of neither, but she ran good because he had filled the gas tank with Granny's White Lightning. Granny was astonished, and Jethro further admitted he gave the bear plenty of extra jugs for the trip back. Jed remarked that the stuff is liquid dynamite, and Jethro agreed. Jed mused that maybe he overshot Hooterville and hoped they would hear from him soon, because if he ran into something, the whole countryside would hear from him. Meanwhile, out on a quiet road, Mr. Drysdale found himself in a peculiar situation. A local sheriff approached the vehicle, demanding to know who he was. Mr. Drysdale introduced himself as the president of the Commerce Bank of Beverly Hills. The sheriff, looking at the large animal in the front seat, asked who his friend was. Perhaps the mayor. Mr. Drysdale insisted the bear was not his friend, calling him a rotten, no good hippie bear. The sheriff asked sarcastically if he rode around with bears a lot. Mr. Drysdale denied it, pleading that he could explain everything, though he admitted it seemed a bit peculiar. The sheriff simply asked to see his driver's license, but Mr. Drysdale discovered his wallet was missing. The sheriff joked that maybe his hippie friend rolled him, but the banker guessed it dropped out of his pocket since they had been sleeping on the ground a lot because the local motels would not give them a room. The sheriff called them fools and noted that was mighty unfriendly, to which Mr. Drysdale complained that everybody had been unfriendly, even sticking dogs on them when they asked to use a phone or get a little food. The sheriff then announced they were going to make up for all that by making him a guest of the county for a while. Mr. Drysdale initially thought that sounded nice until he realized he was under arrest. He demanded to know the charges, and the sheriff stated it was for hauling moonshine. Mr. Drysdale argued that the sheriff had it all wrong, explaining that he just used the stuff to run the truck on. The sheriff jested if he meant he used the truck to run the stuff on, telling him to keep his voice down and put the corn whiskey away before the bear woke up and went for it. The sheriff was appalled that he let the bear drink, and Mr. Drysdale challenged him to try and stop the animal, noting that he was sleeping one off now and would be mean with a hangover. The sheriff concluded a person had to be crazy to ride around with a drunken bear, and Mr. Drysdale admitted that was nothing compared to how nervous it felt when the bear was actually driving. The sheriff ordered him to follow him to the courthouse, warning that if he looked back and saw that bear driving, the banker would be in big trouble. Mr. Drysdale muttered to the rotten bear that he ought to undress him and put him to bed in the drunk tank. Later at the jail, Mr. Drysdale asked the sheriff if he had made that phone call to his bank. The sheriff confirmed he did, but noted Miss Hathaway was not there. Mr. Drysdale was confident that whoever answered gave him the word, but the sheriff revealed they said they had never heard of him. Mr. Drysdale was shocked and asked if he was sure he talked to the Commerce Bank, promising to fire whoever it was. The sheriff said he could not catch the fellow's name because he was laughing too hard upon hearing his boss was in jail. Mr. Drysdale demanded to be let out, claiming his rights, but stopped when he accidentally woke Fairchild, quickly telling the good bear to go back to sleep. Back at the Commerce Bank of Beverly Hills, Miss Jane Hathaway was surprised to find Mr. Cratchit and the staff celebrating. She asked what was going on, noting that New Year's Eve had already passed. Mr. Cratchit declared they were celebrating something better because they finally got public enemy number one, the skinflint Drysdale, whom he called the Beast of Beverly Hills. Miss Hathaway demanded to know where Mr. Drysdale was, and Mr. Cratchit begged her to keep it a secret, but she insisted he must be released immediately. Mr. Cratchit doubted he would ever be released, listing charges of vagrancy, bootlegging, and contributing to the delinquency of a bear. When Miss Hathaway asked if he wanted the doors of the bank to close, Mr. Cratchit thought that was a great idea, suggesting they make it a legal holiday called Liberation Day with flags and a picnic for all the employees. Miss Hathaway firmly stated that the only place they were going was to the town where Mr. Drysdale was being held to take him out of jail. Mr. Cratchit joked that he would have no part of a lynch mob, but Miss Hathaway clarified they were going to bail him out. Mr. Cratchit asked if they really had to, and Miss Hathaway dismissed the assistant, Miss King, who shared a friendly word with her colleague. Miss Hathaway then demanded to know the name of the town, and Mr. Cratchit revealed it was a town called Ripley. Miss Hathaway had never heard of it, but Mr. Cratchit predicted it would become a national shrine where they captured the notorious Milburn Drysdale, though he jokingly vowed never to tell her where it was. Soon, back with the Clampetts, Miss Jane informed the family that Fairchild was in jail in the little town of Ripley. The news deeply disturbed them, and Jed declared they had to do something right away, suggesting they get a lawyer or call the Supreme Court. Granny wildly suggested baking Fairchild a cake with a saw in it, but Jed told Ellie to calm down. Ellie blamed Jethro for the whole mess, complaining that he had turned Bessie into a short-order cook and now had her bear on a chain gang. Jed apologized to Miss Jane, but noted that Ellie always found a great story in those critters. Miss Jane pointed out there was another critter under arrest, Mr. Drysdale, who was sharing a cell with Ellie's bear. Jed wondered where Ripley was, and Miss Jane said she could not find it on the map, but knew it must be somewhere between there and Hooterville. Granny suggested that Sam Drucker would know since he was the postmaster and the justice of the peace. Jed agreed and told her to give him a call. Meanwhile, Jethro asked why they had Mr. Drysdale in the locker on vagrancy charges, wondering if that was bad. Jed explained that a vagrant is someone who does not work, a loafer, though Jethro recalled a nice family named Vagrant back home, who are hard workers. Granny got Sam Drucker on the phone, greeting him warmly and asking how things were in Hooterville. Sam said things were fine, and asked if they got home all right. Granny reported they had a dandy trip with good weather, while Sam mentioned a few sprinkles and a snow flurry. Granny advised him to keep bundled up, so he would not catch cold, calling him a handsome rat and throwing him a kiss. Jed urged her to ask about Ripley, but Granny insisted on giving him some sweet talk first because the man was in love. With Drysdale in jail, Jed finally took the phone and asked Sam if he knew about Ripley. Sam confirmed it was over in Jasper County. Jed explained that their good friend Drysdale was in the cattle booths over there and asked if Sam knew anyone who could help. Sam offered to try since he knew the judge over there, promising to call them from Ripley. Sam then asked his friend Fred if he could borrow his truck to run over to Ripley. Fred agreed but told him to take it easy because Arnold the pig was asleep on the front seat after watching The Late Show. Sam joked about how Fred treated the pig better than his wife, but promised to drive carefully and wake Arnold up at 1:30 so he could listen to his favorite radio soap opera, Just Plain Swell. Fred asked when Sam would be back, and Sam said as quick as he could, explaining he wanted to talk the judge into taking it easy on a friend. Fred warned him about old Vinegar Joe Johnson, the hanging judge, noting that where that man spits, grass never grows again, and that he only turned mean after his wife ran off with a banker from Kansas City. Fred warned that Sam would have trouble if the prisoner was a banker or a city feller. Back in the cell, Mr. Drysdale complained to the bear about his bad breath and wished for fresh air. The sheriff arrived, telling him it was about time, but warning him he was not out of the woods yet. Mr. Drysdale threatened to prefer charges of false arrest and police brutality, but the sheriff told him to sit down and be quiet while he took his hungover friend for a walk. Mr. Drysdale pleaded with the sheriff to call his bank again so he could talk directly, but the sheriff refused to waste the county's money, noting that Vinegar Joe would not like it. When Mr. Drysdale asked who that was, another deputy explained it was the judge who would try his case as soon as he got back from fishing for white bass. The deputy remarked that the judge would be mean because the bass were not running today. Another officer entered, asking where the sheriff got the bear, remarking that the vagrant looked like a rough character. The sheriff explained he picked him up on River Road running moonshine with the bear riding shotgun. They joked that the bear probably smoked pot based on his clothes, calling the man a real degenerate. Sam Drucker arrived and identified Mr. Drysdale, wishing him luck because a city banker facing Vinegar Joe was up the creek. Mr. Drysdale, seeing Sam, immediately accused him of being Boss Drucker, head of the Hooterville Mafia, staging a plot to ruin him and steal the Clampett fortune. Sam denied knowing him, but Mr. Drysdale accused him of leaving the cell door open so the gunslinger Pete could shoot him in the back. Sam tried to explain that he had ridden 40 miles with a pig listening to radio serials just to help him, but Mr. Drysdale scoffed at country justice, shouting at him to get out. Granny soon arrived to break the bad news to Jed, explaining that Sam Drucker called to report Mr. Drysdale goes on trial first thing in the morning. They realized they had to